Brightburn is directed by David Yarofsky, and this film follows a family who lives in Kansas. And after a spaceship crash lands in their backyard, they discover a young boy inside of that ship. They decide to raise this boy, but as he gets older, he starts to display some special abilities that he may or may not be using in some very sinister ways. This is a movie that, based on the elevator pitch alone, the premise alone, I think a lot of people will find to be interesting. Because Brightburn asks the age-old question, what if Superman was a dick? No, not that movie. But this also isn't the first time that we've seen this question proposed before. We've seen this question answered in comic books like Supreme Power, but also in Superman comics with Superman Red Sun. Granted, these stories aren't typically told through a horror lens, which is actually exactly what this movie does, thankfully. But what actually intrigued me the most about this film is the fact that this movie is written by Brian and Mark Gunn, brothers of James Gunn, who actually produced this film. But the idea of just three brothers coming together to make a horror film for a reported measly budget of just $7 million. I mean, how could I not be looking forward to this film? And I think for the most part, Brightburn delivers on the premise that it proposes. This film is incredibly brutal and features some really awesome superpower kills, which I thought on the whole were pretty satisfying. Because you don't really see that a lot in a lot of superhero films nowadays. You don't see people with these incredible abilities executing what is essentially Mortal Kombat levels of violence. One scene in particular in this movie, you can watch it in the trailer if you so please, but it's just so disturbing, it's so gruesome, it's so violent that even though my eyes were barely opening and I was just like peeking through the slits so I could see what was going on, it almost made me lightheaded. And as I was watching it, I was just like, oh God, oh no, oh. And keeping in mind who worked on this film, I don't think it should be much of a surprise to anyone that this film actually has a very significant portion of it that is more humor focused, which is actually my favorite part of the movie. Because I do feel when this film takes itself really seriously and it abandons its more silly or tongue-in-cheek tone, I didn't find this film to be nearly as compelling. And I think that's due to the fact that for the most part, this film doesn't really work for me as just a straight up horror film. I think most of the scares in this film fall really flat. Because most, if not all, of the horrific moments in this film are set up and executed in almost the exact same way. The child, Brandon, he shows up, people are scared, they either try to hide or find him, and as they're doing such, he is running or flying throughout the house. As they're looking for him, you can see him in the background floating with his eyes glowing, and just as they turn the corner or turn around, he's there and just immediately kills them, and there's a jump scare. Now, I do get that most of this film seems to be designed to deliver these gory moments. I get that. But with that in mind, I think this film's tone and its intentions would be a lot clearer if it infused a lot more humor into this film, given the fact that a lot of these kills are so over the top anyway. Because there is this one scene surrounding a car, and I think it is the perfect example of what this entire movie should be. It's funny, it's kinda creepy, but most importantly, it's incredibly gory. And I do think if this film was perhaps a bit more silly, I think this would be the perfect film to premiere at a film festival like South by Southwest, which I think would have given the film the word of mouth that it kind of needs. I think the performances in this film were probably another highlight for myself. The two parents in this movie, who are portrayed by Elizabeth Banks and David Denman, I thought they were two of the best elements of this film. I really enjoyed their dynamic in this movie, and just when I thought this film was going to go a bit more, let's say, cliche route, this film subverted my expectations, and I thought these two actors gave a sense of legitimacy to this film. And due to this film's low budget, there are some special effects in this film that are less than impressive, but keeping this movie's financial restrictions in mind, I didn't really let it affect my enjoyment of the film at all. And leaving this movie, keeping in mind what the budget of this film was, I think for the most part, Brightburn pulls off exactly what it's trying to accomplish. This is a pretty fun movie that, despite its tonal issues, it delivers on some pretty brutal kills and answers a question that has been asked for decades. So did you guys see Brightburn? What did you think about it? Leave your thoughts and opinions down below. And as always, guys, thank you so much for watching today. I hoped you liked today's video, and if you did, you can click on the link down below and you can subscribe to my channel to see more movie reviews and movie related things. And guys, thank you so much for watching, and see you next time.